Yeah! One year, yeah! 1 year of clarity. QInsights. Data on the screen, waiting to be seen. No more guesswork, no black box machine. Generic tools just blur the view. The real insight always starts with you. You're in command. 1 year of QInsights, raising the bar. Version 1.5, you're the superstar. Human intuition met with AI speed. It's the collaboration that you really need. Here's what you need from the first note to the final trace. Hey, hey, hey. We put the researcher back in their place. In control. Version 1.5, the upgrade is here. Celebrating our very first year. Celebrate! It's been 1 whole year. QInsights makes the evidence clear. Every tree, but you take the lead. Defensible insights are what we need. 1 year of clarity. 1 year of clarity. You're right in command. Happy anniversary.
Welcome to the webinar where we, on the one hand, celebrate about roughly 1 year of QInsights when we first released QInsights. And here in this webinar, I see a mix also of people who are already using QInsights and other people who are still curious about QInsights and want to learn about it. So welcome to all of you. And I think, and I hope I will have something for all of you here in this webinar, because I'm also going to show what are the new features. We have some more hands on deck now, so we can push development a bit further and faster, which is nice. And yeah, we have some exciting new features and more to come. But now this is about what we have implemented so far in the last 2 months. I will also show you something that we did in June. Maybe some people don't know about that. So I start with a short presentation to celebrate, so to speak. Well, this is QInsights. We get to that later. And to take you a bit back to the beginning. So it was probably end of November or something like that, when I was also, of course, happy that we have now a version that you can use. You can now actually implement in a secure space and in a more methodological, structural sense, not using chatbots anymore. We have something for you that you can use now. And there were 2 reactions. And one reaction is actually from Sam, and when she started first using it. And Sam, maybe you can reiterate that while I have you here, because that's your quote. QInsights is like eating chocolate cake.
I just thought this is the software, this is the platform I've been waiting for all my life. It brings so much validity to using generative AI and qualitative methods, but it also brings the objective clarity that those of us who are qualitative methodologists are looking for every time we do an analysis of any kind. So for me, it was absolutely delightful. And that's what made me think of chocolate cake.
Yeah, and thanks, Sam. And then we had the other reaction. It gave me the creeps, and I tell you also what's behind that. And so where do these different receptions are coming from? Yeah, Sam, she tried it out and played with it, and that was her reaction. So first an experience, and then a year ago and it's still there, but it has improved a lot. There are a lot of anxieties and also that what's coming now with AI, and we don't know that animal and how it works. And it was more also to do with people kind of saying, oh, the next journal entry I receive or read is going to be, I have analyzed my qualitative data using QInsights as method. And that, of course, was never the intention. It's a tool, and you bring your method, but it wasn't much out there yet. It was like, yes, let's play with it. And for some, it is very intuitive to go into that dialogue way of analyzing data. Recently, I had a demo where I did actually also showed a person the dialogue, and it's for me is of course all. I don't have to think about this anymore. And then you just talk about it. I'm talking with my data. I go into the chat and that person like, what do you mean by dialogue? So a lot of people are still so much in that coding framework, or they try then to use the chat to code their data. I mean, all of these things, that's all, it's still kind of there, because we need to take people from like what they used to do to what's possible now. And that's where the chocolate comes in, that we can actually do something in a different way. And I also got a nice feedback just the other day. It was also more that the through experience, kind of seeing that I can go much deeper now with this dialogue approach as compared to coding. Yeah, and that was also my impression, but I can share my impression, but it's it's really something you have to experience, you have to do yourself. Because coding, you chop your data into little pieces and then, kind of put these things together again. But if you ask a question with AI assistant, then it's much more contextualized, it's much more in the narrative, and that's why you get actually closer and deeper into your data. So a year ago, there was still a lot of anxiety there, a lot of not knowing, how we can actually use it, how on earth can that work without coding our data. And that's why eventually I sat down, first time in April, to put down my thoughts in kind of a framework. This webinar, I'm not going to go through the framework. You can watch the July 15 recording. It's on YouTube, where I go through this step by step. And in order to give people an idea how this can work, and also to give some structure, because not all of our users are academic, but a lot of them are. But also if you're non-academic, it's like, do we chat and then we produce lots of dialogue and lots of chat protocol? So how can we actually do that in a structured manner, so we actually can move from data to report? And that's what we essentially want. So that came out in this still preprint. I'm still waiting for went through some review process, and now it always takes a long time. So to get this published in Qualitative Inquiry. And so that the other thing we were seeing also throughout 2025 is increasing AI adoption. So when I teach webinars or I go teach workshops, also general workshops on AI and qualitative research, I always ask people who is using AI like almost daily, not necessarily for qualitative analysis, but for writing or helping, or it's also become much better in doing research, and much more reliable because it's connected to the internet and all of those kind of things. So in the beginning of the year, it was like 3 people raising their hand when I asked about who is using it almost daily. Suddenly in May, towards the summer, half of the room was raising their hand saying they use it almost daily. And then most of the other half saying, well, once in a while. And there were like 2-3 people who were still kind of, well, we're still waiting to see. And I'm very reluctant yet to use it. So that has changed a lot. And that, of course, also has, that also helps with QInsights adoption as well, because you need to know a little bit about how that works and how LLMs actually work also, to then go into that conversation with your data using QInsights. And we also have been vetted by a number of organizations and universities now. And what you see, that form is now a mix of English and German, but I do have that form in only English or only German. But if you need a form or information for your data security person that needs to approve the software, so we do have that, we share that. And these are basically, the form is another page long, basically answering the kind of questions data security people have to get us vetted for their organization. So we were recently also vetted, and that's interesting for Germans in the Polizeihochschule. So that's a university for public administration and also police. And then, of course, they have high data security standards. And so we also, made their approval. For those who this is new, just to give you a little bit an idea how that actually works. With the LLMs we are using, we cannot be local. We need to be in the cloud because the LLMs need data centers to process your data. So that's why you can imagine it like renting a space in a data center. And we use Azure for that, so Microsoft Azure. So if you're using Microsoft products and you're using OneDrive, that's kind of the same similar security setup. So we get all the industry standard security that's why I draw that fence there with double encryption, around that space that we are renting there. And then from there, we are accessing LLM also in that, well, not in that space, but data centers within Europe. Yeah, and that's especially important for people living in Europe, because we need to be GDPR compatible. So the data are processed either in Sweden or Paris, depending on where there is enough. Yeah, but if Sweden is busy, the data are redirected to Paris. But it's only when data are processed. So if you ask a question and something is going to be processed, and other than that, it is in that secure space with double encryption, and also following. Also, HIPAA is important for America, and there's other data security standards as well for the different countries. So that's of course important that we feel comfortable that our data are safe, not used for training and all of that kind of stuff. And then in the last quarter of this year, we saw a very strong team adoption. So it was, first people maybe trying it on their own, and then really, I know from one professor, she said, like, I want all of my team to use it, or actually two. They bought, like, they said, I don't want these PhD students to be left out. We want to use it for our research project, and I want all of our staff and students or researchers being able to use this, because there is, of course, also this time effect there, and that we have so many things on our plate, and I get coding data for months and months and months on end. There is a better way now of doing that, and and also getting transparent, reliable results out there. So that's why we saw a strong adoption of team licenses as well, which is, of course, we're happy about that. Word of mouth is also spreading the word. And we have Damien here, and then there's also other people who are implementing that in their workshops, adopting it for teaching purposes, and because also we have to think about training the next generation of researchers with this new technology. So before we move on to QInsights, let me share you a few secrets. What I've been more so if I'm teaching is always providing a little bit of AI literacy, and also helping people not to avoid now I have Stolperstein in my head. So it's like barriers of working with LLMs. Still also with QInsights, you can also just plug in a question and that ask for answering your research question. We know that the LLMs, AI assistants, also in QInsights, while they're very helpful, they always provide an answer. But what you need to do is you need to go into that interactive dialogue. So good answers come from iteration with your data. So never kind of try to skip directly to the conclusion. Prompt for inquiry. And we also have throughout the year, that's already longer there, the guided analysis that actually helps you understand this process. So don't just plug in one research question and say that, that's the answer there, but think about how you can, prompt what you were interested in. So asking 3, 4, 5 questions about the one topic that you want to explore further. And we had people also using QInsights, and it might be from the onset that it was only used to shut it down, to say that. And some of you know it's interesting movements happening. It's this open letter that was published in October by some 2 famous people from thematic analysis, Victoria Clark and Brown, Victoria and let me just use the last name. I'm messing up the first names now. And actually saying generative AI cannot be used for any reflexive qualitative research, which of course some of us were triggered and said, this, you can't generalize to that. And then we also see authors of those open letter publishing research where saying, this is also not how you actually deal with with AI. And so one of the persons also using QInsights, she told me, and I also met with her in between before a paper was published like in October, I think now. She told me, well, it's not more than a summarization machine. And I tried to explain to her what more she can do. But then later seeing that she was, basically publishing anti-AI, you could see that she didn't want to see more. So if you assume it is a summarization machine, well, you will get a summarization machine. If you assume or expect it can be a helpful tool to dig deep into your data to see more than you even can do with coding, and you go beyond summaries, that's what you will get. So it's very much, and that's the important part that was my vision and goal from the very beginning. As you see in this image, the researcher is in control. It's needed to guide the AI assistant, and with QInsights, we give you the frame to do that, and also to make it easy, offering different workflows and so on. But the important part is you guide the AI assistant, and what you think the AI assistant can do for you, this is what you're going to get. And yes, as we have seen with some people some people get it very quickly, others maybe need a little bit more guidance in doing that. So let me now move and switch over to QInsights. And there is already a few changes here in the interface, and I was just told about another one that I've been asking for, to move the settings and the lockout actually to the bottom of the screen. And because it's more standard. Another standard one is change that icon. So just a few AI UI kind of improvements. You will see that throughout. It all looks already a bit becomes more a mature project. It's still in its starting phase, but you get that feel when you work with the software. You can now add also your own little avatar. So I have here my AI avatar, and what you then also see while I'm already in the settings here, we have an admin setting now. So if you have a team license, then the one person can take over the role of the admin and invite other people, and the tokens are already also kind of managed by the team admin, and can also always see how many tokens are used and where you are with your team account. So I don't have invited now somebody here on my account, but so basically it's simple and straightforward as it works. You just invite a user, enter either their QInsights email if they're already registered, or you ask them, so which email do you want to use for QInsights? And if they don't have an account yet, if they're invited, they will be guided through the registration process. So people don't necessarily have to have an account yet when you invite them. But I should probably ask them which email they want to be registered with. So the other thing that you see now here, if you had been ever trying that, well, if you only have one project, you probably never did try the search button here, but now it's incremental search. So if your number of projects increase here, you could just type, and then it's starting to search by, now it's all projects that have an M, and these are all projects that have an M and E. And if I want to find my meaning of friendship project, so it's easy now to find that. The layout has changed a bit. You can sort quickly by name and creation date. So if you just created a project, that is always the top one here. And you can also still switch, but that becomes, if you have lots of projects, this view is the better one. Next, our interface change is you have a bit more space for your project entry. There's a little text now explaining that whatever description you enter here in your project description is used as context information. So like forgot the name now. There's a name for in place. Well, there's a technical name for that, but some explanatory text, so actually know why it is good to have some project description here. So for everybody who's new, if you create a project, please do add whatever is the aim of your project, the goals, maybe the questions you have been asking, something about your sampling, can be a page or two long, and that information always goes as context information sent with all of the prompts, everything that you do within QInsights. So the AI assistant is always informed about what your project is all about. And now I want to focus on this project also to show you a few new other things. Well, depending on when you worked, it was okay at the beginning of the year, and then somehow kind of screwed up. But that is kind of fixed now, that the columns and rows are where they're supposed to be. But in terms of handling, now we have speakers here. If we set a filter, then immediately you don't have to remember to click that button here. That is immediately, once you set something here, it's going to be selected. And if you want to remove the filter, there's a remove. So you don't have to kind of click over all these options. It's just a remove filter. And so I don't go to have set filters now. So there's a little bit on UI improvement there. That has to do with accessibility. So if there are icons and you move over with your mouse, and that's important for screen readers, so we start to be more systematic in implementing that. So the software, with every step that we do, that becomes also fulfills accessibility criteria. So that's it's probably not relevant for a lot of you, but it's relevant for those people who need those helping tools to actually help them work. We changed the naming here, so it just says summary, and so it's now clear that it's the AI summary here, and not to be mixed up with the previews. So some improvements there. Oh, and the other improvement here is you can now rename your documents. So if you had whatever name in your file manager that helps you organize your files in your file manager, you can rename them here in QInsights if you think, oh, it might be better to have a different name for analytical purposes here. So that's also a new option here. So I need to balance a bit between the new features. So I kind of go through these 5 analysis options for those people who are new, but then also point out what we have added. So guided analysis that came in somewhere in the middle of the year. In terms of workflow, you could start with a theme analysis and then pick a theme and then go into more depth. And if we go now to the analysis archive, so in terms of time, it's always taking a bit, but speed also has improved when an analysis is run. So I go into the archive right now, and the theme analysis looks something like this. So once you actually run the theme analysis. I can tell you already that much. It's not implemented yet, but it was also asked by a number of people, and we will do that soon, that when you click on the button theme analysis, you will have some options where you can kind of interfere. So that is not QInsights just doing a theme analysis, but you can add, I want 6 themes or 10 themes if you want more detail, or the focus of the theme analysis should be something. So in the spirit of being able to interact, because that is one of the features where you have the least options actually to interact, we will also add that here, so you can add your specific angle also when you run a theme analysis. So for those new to QInsights, so what we have always with any conversation or any analysis is you get the references. And that's why we have those previews, and in those previews, then everything is marked in yellow that relates to the theme. So it's not like coding, it's more like where did the AI get the information from to come up with that theme, so to come out of that black box. So for some of the sentence that might be highlighted, you might think of, because it's still in that coding framework, or I wouldn't relate that to the theme, but it's more also the context information where the AI got the idea from. So the idea really here is to get out of that black box, to not knowing where the LLM got the information to create that theme. You see here an export option. I still have to talk with the developer on this. So you can export now this little graphic, but I think that's not very useful. So at least you should have the theme description here as well. But we're getting there. But if you wonder what this burger diagram is doing here, you can export this one now. We'll make it a bit more useful in a bit. So that is for those who are new about theme analysis, but I have to. That's what I want to show for existing users who didn't see that. And I'm going to open-ended questions now, a survey. So because it's that is related to theme analysis and the output. Because we don't have the previews with Excel tables, because Excel tables can be huge, and then you have some yellow highlights somewhere here. So we might come up with some ideas there as well in the future. But for now, we came up with a different solution. And you can, if you go to show details, you don't get those highlighted in your Excel table, but you can create now an Excel table that shows you per theme the open-ended answers that that are generated. So you can do that per theme, or you can download all references. And how that then looks like, I have opened an Excel file here. Yeah, so you get, now you're going to see, oh, I need to, it's too loud. So you get per theme. So you get your theme description on top, and per theme, you also get the variables that are in there, and you get the data that the quotes that kind of are related to that theme here. And then this is a theme parenting and source of personal growth, and so on. So per theme, you get a sheet here where you can then look at the data. So that's an output that we created in June already. So just to show you that. You're back in the archive here now, and you might also see some changes here. I didn't rename all of these things, but yeah, I think I think has been there a bit longer, that you can rename your themes. And we changed that here. You had like lots of icons there, and that cluttered the screen. Well, now, of course, here it's only always one file, but it will show you how many files are in the analysis. And if you click on it, you get the list of files. We now add not only the date, but also the time. So if you run different theme analysis or within, on the same day, so you kind of know when you were running it, and not, oh, we did that 5 analysis on that one day, but you can also get the exact time now here. And I'm moving back to that other project now, the focus group example. Yeah, for focus group example, interesting is also a grid analysis. I mean, for interviews as well, but also for focus groups. And that is something we also integrated based on people asking us to do so. So when you now start a grid analysis, you see I already have 2. I can also now add a third one. So there's not only like one grid analysis with all the tabs you can have. You can go now and create just one grid on experience or beliefs and so on. So let me just open an existing one. And here we have the different tabs. So for those new, so what you can do here with the grid analysis, you ask a question: what is the perspectives about AI for research? So these are some synthetic data I created. So now you get a response here per person. And that gives a very fast, quick overview of how everyone in a focus group has been answering a question. It also works for interview data, and so you can use it for both. We have improved the references here, so it's not all one big blob. It's nicely now separated. Yeah, so here now we could go into more depth and ask follow-up questions in the chat. So back to the grid, we can start different tabs. Yeah, so this is perspective, hallucination, data security, bias, and then you can open a new grid. So basically what you get here, while it's on top, is a summary of the answer, and then the answer per person. And that is something what people produced by hand previously. Yeah, I had an Excel table and then copied per person the answer or summary answer, what each person said about one topic. So, and that is now, you can get this table now. So, well, let me select both, and I go into the conversation analysis. And this looks like a normal chat that you know from Claude, Gemini, OpenAI, whatever, but it is different. Yeah, so a number of different things happening when you ask a question here now. Every question you ask, the AI system will always only look at the data that you have uploaded. What are the experience of the respondents with regard to using AI for research. Yeah, there's a typo in it, but that doesn't matter. So hopefully, yeah. So it seemed to be only a problem with that follow-up on the grid analysis. So you see now that it's not, it's a bit more nicely animated. That Q is thinking. So it's a natural name for our AI assistant Q, for QInsights, and now it comes up with the answer here. So, and that is what I said the secret sauce in my presentation. This is your first question. What are the experience of the respondents with regard to using AI? Their answer is probably not your last or final answer yet. So your task is now to read this and get some feeling for it. And if you have some more questions about benefits that I mentioned or anything here, you're going to ask and dig deeper. So the secret or the magic is also in iteration. So taking it and reading it and then going deeper into your analysis, learning more about your data. So that is like how you process this dialogue and talk to your data. And that's why in my framework, I suggest you pick one topic, maybe the experience of respondents, and then think about what are like 3-4 questions that I can use to dig deeper to learn about that. And it's best to do if you know your data. So in teaching AI-based analysis, it's very difficult to do that with data that people don't know, because people need to now think about, they need to know the data. We still need to do that. We cannot just dump in some data and have no idea about, because then we have no idea what kind of questions to ask. So the theme analysis can guide us. It can, in the sense, kind of tell us, okay, what are the topics out there that we could explore further, and then we can dive deeper from there. Yeah, and if you think, oh, this is a very broad summary response, that might be because we ask a very, very general question. But if you now just ask about, let me just ask about, tell me more about the challenges that Sylvia, I think it's Sylvia, yeah. See, that's how good I know these data. Tell me more about the challenge that Sylvia is reporting. Yeah. And you will see now we get a much more detailed, much more nuanced answer. Yeah, and that's also one reason, the recommendation I also give, you don't dump in all your 20 interviews at once. You will get summary answers. Yeah, now this is only for Sylvia now. Yeah, so that answer is only what Sylvia has been saying. So as compared to an answer for all 8 respondents on top of here, now we can dig deeper, and we can then maybe also ask, what are experience and how does it relate to the challenges she experienced, and so on and so forth. So, and this is where we can dig deeper, maybe develop concept, and then we can then see where do we find that in all of the data, so we can kind of zoom out and zoom in. If we need more detail, we work with we work maybe with just one case or 3-4 interviews, and not with all 30 interviews that we might have. So just a few tips while I'm presenting this the software part of it. And yes, and then you can save it and then you do find it back in the archive. So that, and if you're not sure yet how you build this analysis, you go to guided analysis. So the guided analysis is sort of built-in GPT, if you know what that is. Some of you, I know, they know what this is. It's this kind of workflow that is already described, and that, so you don't have to do or have to have that knowledge. So the guided analysis will walk you through all the steps. It asks first, like, and then the shortcut here is fine, that it asks you what language you want to use and what's your name, so it can actually address you. And so what is that project about? The project, I keep it short now, is about exploring people's perspective on the use of AI in, let us say, do research. 2 focus groups were conducted. I did add this to the workflow here because, well, we know how well people read manuals, and normally you would already give a project description when you create a project, but just in case people haven't done that yet, I want the AI system here to have the best full information so it can best help you in answering your questions. So that's why you ask again here for a project description. And if you have it somewhere, you can just copy and paste into it. So, and next question is then, what topic do you want to explore? So you give it the broad context, what this project is about, and then it will ask you, okay, what is one specific topic you want to explore? And I say, I want to explore the anxieties or do that challenges people are mentioned more respondent, or it's actually clear that it's about the respondents. I want to explore the challenges mentioned with regard to the use of AI for research. So what Q is now doing is what normally you would do if you are in control. Yeah, but if you're starting out and you don't know yet how that process works, well, let Q help you a little bit, because now it's suggesting you questions that you can ask to go into more depth. Yeah, and I just illustrated this just with one example. So you can just click on a question and we go through. You're still free to ask follow-up questions or to change those questions. But now the idea is, well, maybe you do, 1 or 2 guided workflows and then kind of say, okay, I get the hang of it now, so I know how it works. And you can do your own conversation, and be in full control. Here, of course, you give up some control to the AI, which we're always, of course, a bit cautious about that you do. But again, you can take these as suggestions and come up with your own questions here. So now you get the answer. We just have to wait a bit. It will, yeah. So what it's doing now, it's now kind of reducing the questions you have already asked, and yeah, sometimes it's not we want to don't want to wrap up as well, but yeah, let's just do that. So this is LLM, so that sometimes the workflow is not exactly this is now what I want. So if you start synthesizing, then you get 4 options: case-based summary, synthesize of key insights, similar difference, and overview table. This is all kind of it's a prompt. It's not coded, it's just a prompt instructing the AI. So that's why every dialogue is also a bit different. But these are kind of the things that you are then suggested to do to start synthesizing your dialogue at the end. And I also suggest to do that when you do your own conversation. Have your dialogue, and important is only have your dialogue about one topic at a time. And because otherwise, we need to add some structure here to the analysis as well. And for that, we also added a little helper here, so that we don't have like a long list of chats and grid and themes, whatever. You now have a folder view, so you can organize your chats now. And let's say, I have a folder for all my theme analysis. And also those who listen for the first time, we need to work with an LLM how they we need to work with their characteristics, and that's why we also get some of the backlash that people just say, well, it's unreliable. Every time we click a button, we get a different answer. Well, that's the nature of LLMs. They are, generative AI. So that's why you don't only run one theme analysis, you may run two, and the overlap is about 80%. So we have a setting that, well, we determine at the moment, and maybe in the future you can do that yourself, it's a so-called temperature. The higher the temperature, the more generative or the more creative your AI assistant is. So our temperature is rather low by 0.2. So it's not overly creative. We still give a little bit of creativity. That's why you get about 80% of different runs. Also, if you do the same conversation again, it's quite a high overlap. So it's not completely crazy. You get completely different answers all the time. Yeah, then that has to do with the temperature setting that we're using here, QInsights. If you use ChatGPT, your temperature is set to 0.7. And you don't have a rack system, so you get your hallucination on top of some data security issue. Plus, yes, it's going to be very creative answers, and that problem is even larger. That people say it's not reliable. But we have, if you know that, you can take that into account and can instead of a theme analysis, it's never the final outcome. It's a starting point for your analysis. And they give you an orientation, what are the topics you can go into more depths, by, asking them in a chat to go into more depth, or doing a grid analysis to explore that topic a bit more. And with that approach that I'm suggesting, actually to think about one topic and then ask questions about it, because it's 4 questions about the same topic, you get lots of overlap in the answer, but from different perspectives, because you're asking for different angles about your question. But that is also a point of verification. So it's you get your yellow highlights in the source documents. Yes, you also get that. But by reading the answers, then you said, yeah, I read that something similar in the answer before. So it gives you also some validation in there that what comes out, and you get to know your data. That's the important point. You're not going to get away from the data. That you get out of that black box feeling, actually. Yeah. So you see, that's what's in the data, and I can check it. I know the data, and you feel that what was already mentioned also, that you actually go much deeper as in using a coding approach. So you can be very creative in how you set up your folders here. Right now, it is, you can only put one analysis into one folder, so it's mutually exclusive. That is changeable, but that's how we started out. Now, if you work in a team, you could also say, well, these are, for now, it's all the analysis Susanne has done, and this analysis Elisabeth has done, and analysis Tom has done. So you can also organize your teamwork in that way. So if you haven't tried this yet, you have your share button. If you share a project with somebody and somebody shared a project with me, that looks like this. Yeah, so this project is shared with me, this project is shared with me. So I cannot delete this project until people kick me out of that project. So the person who is sharing is in the lead, and then I see everything what everybody else who is invited to the project is doing. So we can actually, see all accumulated analysis of the various people there. And that may be something then you also want to start organizing in the chat. So I'm looking at the watch and a clock, and I think I show you one last thing, and then I stop. And maybe then we have a few minutes for questions. I don't have to leave at sharp, but some of you might need to leave. So there is one, and that is also for people new, the analysis of open-ends. So you can then, when you import it, that identify what are variables and what are the open-ends you want to analyze. You can then specifically pick which of the columns in your open-ends or in your survey you want to analyze. You can do theme analysis, conversational analysis, guided if you want. Grid analysis is specific for interview data or focus groups, but this one is specific for open-ends or for semi-structured data. And so this interface has improved, and also you have this little information there, what you should enter here. And now you get a pie chart. So here we do count, because now we have semi-structured data, and it's evaluating each of these responses of whether it's rational or emotional. You still cannot change the results, but and it's already kind of there, maybe to be implemented. The AI will give you a summary response that you can edit, and there's a nicer editor here now. But also what people are asking us for is to be able to export that pie chart, so you can do that now as well. So for those new to this, this is not, don't run statistics with it. Yeah, you might get 70 to 30 next time. So it is large language models, not large counting models, even though, because it's semi-structured, it is more reasonable to offer some counting facilities, but it might slightly change the next time. So, but it gives you, it's not going to be 30 and, I mean, completely the other way around. So it's about 1/3 rational and 2/3 emotional response. So it's not completely the other way around the next time. So I've run this analysis a lot of times. And so you get kind of the proportion of how it looks like. And what you also have seen is you don't have to live with a positive, negative, neutral. You can enter any dimension that you want. And there's also a little trick. If you have dimensions that maybe need a bit of definition, just put those definitions in the project descriptions, because the LLM will pick up on that. So you don't, if you have something specific, what you mean with emotional, rational, put that in the project description. And then also this analysis will pick up on that. So I stop here, and I might have maybe have forgotten something, but yeah. But I want to have some space for questions. And for those who haven't tried it yet, you can all try it out for free for 1 million tokens. And that is, we don't put a time, so that you don't have to be worried about finding the right time, because if it's 7 days, the 7 days I go faster, then you have time to try.
Talk to your data clear and bright. QInsights helps you do it right. Safe and steady, side by side. Your research partner always on your side.